Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going, guys? That'll be the last day of class today, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh my gosh. It feels crazy weird that this is it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we are here.
Okay, cool. Hold on. I wanted to see if I could join our call with my camera. I'm just going to mute myself for once. All right, so you guys can see my face, and I don't know, we can do this thing. Let's see, how many people do we got? We got 6 people in the house so far. We need a couple more than that to take off. So I'm thinking we'll just wait for everybody to kind of get here. Anybody got any stories to tell about finals? I mean, I think, let's see, James is like, you're the only one who's like in class all day before this, right? Or is it anybody else taking finals today already? How's it been going?
Just finished late's final, and that felt really good. So out of that class, I feel
How does that final go? Do you just show a PDF of drawings, like flip through a book, or what?
Yeah, basically. So we showed a recap of our entire year, week by week, like one thing, like one page from each week. And then we did a final product, like rendering an idea thing that took like 2 weeks. So I did a watch. Other people did like furniture and such things. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It ended up great, honestly, which I was happy about.
And it was Photoshop render final?
Yeah, it was kind of whatever you want. So I use like Procreate, Illustrator, and Photoshop. Like Illustrator for the watch face, and then Photoshop for the textures, and Procreate for the drawing, line drawing and stuff. So yeah, I kind of just like mix and matched. Kind of, it was good.
That's cool. That's cool. Good stuff. Right on. Harish, how about you? Did you are you in that class also?
Yeah, I'm in that class too. Yeah, I was working on like lawn chair.
A
And-
lawn chair.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Lawn chair, not lawn chair. Yeah.
So did it go well? Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
it went well. I think so. I hope so. Yeah. As far as my side, it was nice.
It's interesting to have a final where you get to kind of do whatever you want. It's kind of like put your best foot forward, kind of like it's like a true portfolio piece. It's like when you go to get a job and you go to apply and you get in for the interview, they're not going to be like, we want to see Photoshop renders only. They're going to be like, hit us with your best shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you think you're going to stick with Photoshop rendering over hand rendering? Like, I'm trying to get a gauge from you guys on, like, since you guys are 2020 new school designers, do you feel like if you have to sit down and sketch or put together a final concept, are you going to jump right into Photoshop, or is that only going to be something, or just digital drawing in general? Are you going to jump right into that, or is it something you'll only do when it's required?
Yeah, I personally feel like doing a hand drawing and sketching like an ideation sketch and directly diving into CAD makes more sense. The Photoshop thing is like, I don't know why we are doing it. Maybe I'm not really sure, but
Yeah.
sketching is something like we ideate things, but I'm moving to CAD to make it more realistic. But I don't know, somewhere Photoshop came in between.
Yeah, I guess the school and the profession of industrial design is just kind of testing the waters to see, who's going to be really, really good at each certain skill. And so then when you get into a scenario where you're working on a design team, everybody kind of gets assigned to do whatever they're best at. So I think like a full-blown Photoshop rendering is going to come up when you get like a visit from the client, or when you have like a big landmark with the client, and some big wig is coming in and you want to put on a show and show them where their money went, that's when you pull out the best designer on the team who's best at Photoshop rendering, and you sick them on the job of trying to bust out like the most flashy renderings possible. But you're right that like sketching and drawing is really like it's like a thought process. It's not like a really like a final display type situation.
I feel like that, but also I feel like in Procreate you can like customize things, and there's so many different possibilities. It's really easy to get like a hand render displayed in so many different ways with textures and layovers and all these different types of things. Like it is functioning a lot as Photoshop, like with path selection and different stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not very good at it yet, but I was starting to feel like, oh, okay, like the difference between Photoshop and Procreate is kind of slim, honestly, besides like the use of a stylus for versus a mouse, for like sketch renderings and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I just downloaded a new version of Alias today, and I was super excited. It took me 2 days to get it right. I had to go back and forth with Autodesk to get my educational license renewed. It's like, a $40,000 program, so they don't just give it out for free. But I was able to land it. And then when I did, it came along with Sketchbook Pro, the Autodesk Sketchbook Pro. So now I have that on my computer, and I have like a Wacom tablet here, and I'm thinking maybe I need to get into that. I mean, I've got a whole book on digital illustration, and I've never been able to break through that initial kind of beginner's, struggle with it. It feels so awkward to me to have the Apple Pencil or like the stylus for the Wacom, not being able to look at your page. I'd need to put in those 10,000 hours to get over the hump so that I actually feel comfortable with it and I can build some sort of style, but it's just not there yet. So.
Yeah, the hardest part for that for me was like figuring out like what kind of pencil, and then like there's like so many different settings for each like pencil, the one that I was most comfortable with, and like what its flow would be like to replicate like my actual drawing. That took me like 7 or 8 hours, probably more, but like 7 or 8 hours of actual like, I don't like this, and then on to the next and stuff. So that was a weird hiccup.
So you're not using the Apple Pencil. So what did you find that worked?
Oh no, I am using the Apple Pencil, but okay. Less than that. But like in the actual program, there's so many different types of actual like pencils, nubs, and different things that flow differently on the page and have all their own completely like separate settings and stuff. It was weird to find the one that worked with like my actual hand movements to give me what I want. So yeah,
I get it. Okay, so do you have a stash of brushes now in your Procreate that's like your set?
Yeah, I have like 6 or 7 of them that are like customized to like what would help me the best.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I agree with you. I was just trying to look on my phone really quick because I found this is like a landscape architect who does all Procreate drawings of landscapes. They're fancy designed landscapes. And I had found him, I think it was Instagram suggested him as somebody I should check out. And he had done some drawings of like some palm trees or just some people walking by some palm trees. It was such a slick drawing of palm trees, totally digital. And it was just one of those things that got me thinking, and this all happened today. It was like I saw this landscape architect did these great drawings of landscapes, top view drawings. And I was like, man, maybe I should get back into that. And then by the end of the day, I had gotten Alias and then Sketchbook Pro. And so as we close out this class here, I'm just thinking like, what am I going to do for the break? And digital drawing is pretty high on the list. I'd really like to be able to start to kind of combine that skill with, some of my 3D CAD stuff to really spice up my keyshot renderings so that they don't even look like a keyshot rendering, so you can start to add crazy looking pattern drop shadows or textures and start to really try to take those two tools and sort of blend them together to get a result that I haven't seen before. and this landscape architect, I'm forgetting the name right now, which while I was trying to look him up on my phone, but I'll send the link when I track it down again. But he seemed to have that kind of style that was like something I hadn't seen before. And that's the goal for everybody, is to try to, carve out a niche and do something unique. So yeah, anyway, we should just get going. I mean, all we got to do is show off our renderings to the rest of the class, and we'll talk about how it went. I want to hear the behind the scenes story on each of the stuff. I did get some zip files from a few of you guys, and I do have my computer here if I need to open your files. Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking to hear a story during a critique. If you've been through several critiques today, you probably heard that line before, but it's all, like I've said before, it's always easier to tell a story than it is to give a presentation. Presentation is like scary, and telling a story is kind of fun and entertaining. So even if you don't have anything lined up, just try to, talk about your work in a kind of narrative sense. And I'm excited to see what you guys got. Does anybody want to go first?
I can go first.
Okay. Can you share your screen with us?
Yeah. Here, hold on. Let me just pull it up real quick. Here we go. Oh, shit. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes, now we can.
Cool. All right. So here's my final render. So basically I kept the same style because I really liked it, and it's kind of the form and like color palette as well as materials that I'm kind of digging right now. So a lot of the work I did was kind of like just cleaning up a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff was not sized correctly, which was probably the biggest concern of my project, and that made it look really kind of off, essentially. So I did a lot of resizing. I also added a lot of logos and changed a couple materials up and stuff like that. I think this backdrop is new too. So I added the Logitech logo on the mouse, as well as kind of like my name and like the class and everything, DC3 on the water bottle top. Just because, I don't know, I didn't want to put a logo on the actual bottle. I thought it'd be really cool to play with this kind of like circle going on right here and have like a circular logo right here. So yeah, so I kind of went with a more luxurious kind of look with like golds and brown and chrome. I don't know, I just kind of like the look of it, especially like the browns and the champagnes that are mixed in with it, and to like kind of accompany that, the bottom little header part is also in like a gold as well. And then
yeah, I think it's a unique color scheme. Champagne. I mean, that's one I haven't seen before. I'm liking it. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and like I also like how the champagne kind of glows like in the inside of the binocular as well. I think that's pretty cool how the light all like bounces and reflects in there. Oh, and I also like covered up all the holes in the speaker as well, because that was a big issue, because you could like see through it essentially. So I kind of blocked all that out. So it's just like, black on the inside.
Yeah, very cool.
And, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of all this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, like, it's a toss-up for me on what's the best rendering on the page. Like, which one of these products is looking the best of all four? Do you have an opinion on that?
Maybe the binoculars. I think the form could use a little more work, but I don't know. I just like how shiny it looks. It kind of reminds me of like C-3PO for some reason. I kind of like that. I'm like a huge Star Wars fan, so.
Yeah, there's a total Star Wars vibe going on, and it's like, do you know who Doug Chang is?
No.
Doug Chang is the head of creative development at Industrial Light and Magic. He is the guy who designed basically everything for Star Wars.
Oh, it's that company?
Yeah,
The
he's
one
the
that
guy.
did all like the models and stuff with the lighting.
He's the guy who designed everything at Star Wars. He's the man. Doug Chang. I think his last name is spelled Chaing. Um, he's the man at Lucas for sure. He's done all the stuff, and he does hand renderings of Chrome stuff like that he did for Episode 1, which was a stupidly terrible movie, but the design in that movie was amazing. And you should check out his work for sure, because he's like the king of bling. He knows how to draw, like the way that you've got your kind of ground plane fading right against the side of the barrel of the binoculars, and you can almost kind of see like the environment that the thing is sitting in by looking in the ultra glossy reflection. He's the man on that front. He's always known for like doing renderings of fully chrome spaceships that are in like a desert setting. And how do you do that? Like, how do you do like you do like a chrome spaceship on a cracked desert floor with a perfect blue sky? I mean, you can't make any mistakes, and he is the guy. And lately he's gone digital as well, and his digital drawings are even more badass than his hand drawings. And then just for fun, in between doing all of that stuff, he'll also do like acrylic paintings, like full size, 3 foot by 5 foot acrylic paintings of big scenes that happen in the Star Wars movies. So in the one of the newer Star Wars ones where they've got the big like spaceships going through the desert and they're dragging through the mud, and the mud is like red against the white sand
Oh,
of the
I remember
desert.
that scene.
Yeah, he drew these giant paintings of all those scenes. It's just like amazing stuff. You got to check out Doug Chang if you're into Star Wars. And just looking at your work, the way that you got stuff laid out right there, I think you'd really like to see his stuff.
I think I've actually seen a book on his stuff before.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
any of the Art of Star Wars books are
I have
mostly
like 5 of them.
yeah, they're mostly him and a few other people. He is also like super good at just cool gray Prismacolor marker drawings. I mean, yeah, he's amazing. So yeah, check him out. I think it's the binoculars too. I'm trying to think about like I'm going to take everybody's work here, and then I'm going to kind of pick out certain products and then put together a packet to send off to Corey so that the school can push your guys' work. And I'll probably be doing that as well, just to kind of keep everybody up to date on what's going on. And the mouse looks really good also, because that sidebar, that little side split bar, is catching some of the pattern from the speaker, and it almost looks like a carbon fiber thing or something. It's like a happy accident.
Yeah.
And that is adding complexity to that mouse, which is helping a lot. I think that mouse is kind of boring at the end of the day, just in design wise,
Mhm.
And so adding that little pop of almost texture, fakey texture is helping. So
Cool.
yeah. So you got to
It's
watch out for
also
that.
It's also on the binocular as well.
Yeah.
If you see.
Yeah, water bottle's fine. It's okay. I mean, it's not a good model, and it's a pretty boring form in the first place. I don't know if the text is helping that much. It's kind of like just seems a little pasted on there. It might have been
Yeah.
better to like take that text and emboss it into the surface of that water bottle cap, because you get all the little light and shadow stuff of the embossed logo, kind of like you did on the Bose logo on the top of the speaker. And
I
since
tried to do that, but for some reason, whenever I exported the DXXs or whatever they're called, I couldn't
Mhm.
get them to work right. They all came out like really ugly. So
Yeah.
like whatever text I put in, it just wasn't working. So this was kind of like unfortunately a last result. Like I wanted to do that for like all these logos, but it just was not cooperating with me. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, my second option or my
I gotcha.
backup plan.
Yeah, I gotcha. Cool. Yeah, and this is DC3 2020, not 21, so you got a typo. We're not in 2021 yet.
Oh yeah. Well, this
I
is
want
for the future. The Star
I
Wars
want to be
inspired
there.
content.
I want to be out of this year, I'll tell you, but we're not there yet.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Anybody else want to jump in on this? Tell us what environment you used in Keyshot. Do you have that stuff all saved in your Keyshot file?
I think so. Yeah. Do you want me to pull that up?
No, you don't have to, but if you
Okay.
if
Okay.
you
I
remember.
think it's the bathroom.
Oh, really? It's not an outdoor scene, huh?
No, it's not. I think all these other extra, or I also added blue highlights as well though.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
So
hear.
there's
Yeah.
very minimal blue highlights that I added too. So I used kind of like the reflection of the bathroom, especially for like these chrome bits, but then I added my own little lights to it.
Okay, yeah, because it's got a total typical kind of automotive chrome thing with the blue and then the dark, line for the horizon and then the tan, brown, gray, yeah, that's good to hear. You should play around with Keyshot and figure out what environments are closest to that typical kind of, sky desert scene look. And I've found that I can't really find one that works that good. There's a couple of new ones that kind of look okay, but they're always really intense and hard to edit. But you should try to make your own environment for Chrome stuff. Like if this is how you want your portfolio to be like outfitted with all this really high gloss kind of reflective stuff, then you should make a custom environment just over the break. And you could do that in a few ways by take a sphere, guys, and cut a sphere in half and then put an image on the inside of the sphere as a label and then lower the sphere over your whole model and you'll create a fake HDRI environment in Keyshot. So if you want to have a custom environment without having to actually make a custom HDRI, that's one way to do it. So we never got there in class. That's DC4 stuff, but, anyone else want to talk? I'm drinking coffee. I could keep going, but
Nico, why didn't you tilt your speaker? Like, was that a choice or?
That was a choice. I don't know. I kind of wanted it to look like it was like hovering over directly above the little platform piece or the little charger. So I felt like if I tilted it a little bit, I would have to tilt both that bottom piece as well. And I kind of wanted like you see how like there's the small Bose logo like on the very bottom of the little charger. I kind of wanted that to be shown as well. So I kind of kept that one straight and I kind of made the other ones kind of like off balance, just,
Yeah, I kind of honestly like it because it's like everything's revolving around your speaker and it like is like a strong center point.
Yeah, that was kind of an idea.
I was just curious if you had like some sort of reason for it.
Yeah, it's not that, complex of a reason, but,
You're not trying to hide the fact that the bottom of the speaker is not done. That would be one reason to do that. I mean, that would be a clutch reason. Yeah, it does. I'm noticing the revolving thing now, like almost like as if they're orbiting or something like that. So you could accentuate that if you wanted to take this render a step further in Photoshop. You could. Another thing we didn't get to in Keyshot is exporting different parts of the rendering separately from each other. So there's a lot of tutorials on this just on the Keyshot website. Again, Will Gibbons talks a lot about it, but there's export settings for Keyshot where you can export just the model and the background without the model. And then you can export just the shadows alone, just the reflections alone, just the highlights by themselves. All these different things can get spit out in individual files. So a move you can do is you can spit out the models on one file. It'll be a transparent PNG, the background on another file. And then in Photoshop, you can kind of take your airbrush tool and kind of dust in a lighter color around the model, like adding like a custom outer glow effect from Photoshop. And that would make this speaker look like it was kind of glowing, or, if you had the model separated out of that background, you could, put a blur effect on it maybe, or somehow just kind of make it look like it's got something, superstitious going on there, so that would explain maybe the idea that the rest of them are hovering around them,
Yeah, that seems cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, nice and glossy. I like it. All right, very
Thank
good.
you.
Good stuff. Thanks a lot. There you go.
Hmm.
Anybody else want to jump up to the plate next? Otherwise,
Yeah, I'll go next.
Okay, James.
Okay, so this is my render. I haven't done any portrait renders this year. And so I decided to try to have some fun with that, along with not really doing very many floating renders. Do I like this render a lot? No, I don't like it a lot, but I had a lot of fun with it. And I really enjoyed creating the floor of the render because it's actually a cube that's stretched out, which created those double layer reflecting shadows. So it's a really thin cube, and then it creates it gives this weird illusion underneath that I thought. I'm still confused about whether I like it or if it's just purely distracting. But along with that, I had fun customizing the matted finish on this to create like really soft reflections. So a lot of the material that I had used previously in the class, which I think created a lot of like enjoyment for my renders, was a kind of a high gloss finish, which then like had reflections all over it and stuff. And so for this, I tried to create a matted finish that would just like kind of gently show the curves of whatever the objects were, while like still bouncing light in a nice way, so that you can kind of check out the forms. And then another thing that I really enjoyed with this and kind of had some fun with was the reflection in the glasses up here, in the glass pieces. And so for that, I just used a film from inside the KeyShot database or base, I guess. And it was just a reflective film. And by changing the thickness of it, I actually got this really cool green and purple and like kind of yellowish finish to it. And I really, really enjoyed how that turned out. I thought that the light caught the rings inside there pretty well. I tried to create some sort of cohesion throughout all the models with this like blue and black finish. And something that I'm like really liking right now is this kind of very soft green. I kind of like the contrast of the green and the pink together. So I've been liking that recently. So I decided to create my background in a sort of a gradient just through using different lights and their different brightnesses and sizes, and moving that around like the visual orb inside KeyShot. So that is the story behind my rendering. And there you go.
Very good storytelling there. Yeah, I like it. Gosh, so I think I mentioned to you guys last time that I was I'm listening to, I'm a big Audible guy, and I'm listening to the life story of Da Vinci right now. And they got to this part where they were talking about his notebooks and all the things that he would take notes on. And particularly, he wrote a whole note, one of his whole sketchbooks or notebooks was dedicated to shadows. And he would go around town in Milan and he would take notes on all the different types of shadows that he would see. And then he would go back to his studio and he would practice recreating the types of shadows that he would see. And so he would do like, okay, here's a shadow that's falling onto a reflective item. And then there's light reflecting off of another item into that shadow. And what kind of effect does that make? He would do, what's the shadow of linen look like when you have light coming through linen? What kind of shadow does that cast? What kind of shadow do you get when you have like wool and you shine light through wool? How does the shadow change? And I was listening to this and I was like, you know, that's what makes an Italian master, is somebody who's able to like think about, you know, shadows and take it completely apart and try to think about, there's different types of shadows, you know? And so here you are showing us this strong focus on shadows. It's the first time I've ever seen anybody dedicate so much space on the page to shadows. I mean, the double shadow thing, it's cool. I think it's cool. And it's reminding me of what I read about in Da Vinci's Codex today. I'm like, I'm impressed that you were able to get a double shadow like that. Is it because there's two light sources, or is it because of the surface that it falls, that the shadows cast onto?
So it's basically, I have it's almost not even a shadow, because what it is it looks like a shadow because it's a silhouette coming, or not a silhouette, it's a reflection of dark objects through a cube on both sides of the cube. So we have the first side of the cube and then the second side of the cube, and that creates the disjointedness from where the camera is as well.
See,
Does that
I
kind
think,
of make sense?
yeah, kind of, it does. Yeah. See, so then now you got me thinking, like, what would Da Vinci say about this kind of move? Because
Bullshit, bro.
I mean, he's thinking like, you know, about what's a physical shadow. But then when you get into the computer and you start trying to generate shadows that are reflected shadows, or shadows that are reflections through another object, suddenly you're in this whole new world that he could never have been involved in. I think he would be, I think he'd blow his mind, you know? And what else, the other thing I'm thinking about too, is that this seems to be, Nico, you had this too with the whole like orbiting thing, but it's like almost like a freeze frame of an animation, which is really a good kind of indicator that you're going to do big things in DC4, because the second part of DC4 is all about animation. And to be honest, you can teach yourself animation over the break if you just look at the videos on Keyshot's website. But if you start experimenting with animating not only the product, but also the shadow or the reflections of shadows, I could see this turning into a really, really cool animation. It's almost there. It's like, it looks like a frozen animation. But trying to get your shadows to interplay with your product, and trying to like use shadows as like a way to highlight different parts of your design could be your thing, you know. This would be the first piece. The products look fine. I mean, the more I zoom in, I'll be excited later when I get to look at this on my own computer and really zoom in on it. But the products, they get a lot more complex the closer you get. When you're this zoomed out, they do kind of blend all together into one, you know, and so that's okay. But because I know the details there, but just, you know, for presentation purposes, you know, you put this up when you knew that your audience was going to get really close to the presentation board, or was really going to have the ability to zoom in. That's the risk with doing the full portrait and dedicating so much space to the shadows, that you do draw attention away from the actual products.
Right.
You know, because I can see there's blue in there, and it's also matte black.
Yeah. It's like,
I run into this problem all along. I feel like matte black and the rubberized texture in Keyshot, it's like addictive. You'll be playing crazy ideas, and then you throw a matte black on there, and you're like, holy shit, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to do everything, you know? So I feel like that happened. Yeah, see, the navy blue, it sings once you zoom in on that. Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah. No, I was liking the color combination.
Yeah. I think that water bottle looks 100 times better in matte rubberized plastic.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I would want it. Cool. So, yeah, I'm happy to see what you're doing, experimenting with shadows like that. The lenses on the binoculars, they look good, you know. I think they could look better if you photoshopped your own lenses. I mean, you could have gotten maybe like a better, something that maybe matched the scene a little bit more, because they do kind of stick out. They look almost like they're glowing, like it's more of like a flashlight than a binocular eye.
Okay.
So, you know, they do kind of draw your eye. You know, when you look at the scene as a whole, your eyes first go to the shadows, then up to the massive products, and then pretty quickly you're just zoned in on those lenses.
Right. Okay.
They're glowing, you know. Do they actually glow? Is that an effect that this material in Keyshot produces?
No. And there's so many different like types of colors if you change the thickness of it. But like, I don't know, I wanted to have it match kind of the colors in the background more vibrantly, but I guess if I'd like dimmed it down, it would have been better. There's definitely options to make it more subdued and not like, that's all pretty customizable and stuff. Like I had there was meaningful choice in that, but at the same time, I get what you're saying. I think I was just rendering way too much, and I was like, this will work. You know, with between this and my other studio classes.
Yeah, yeah. Did you do your studio project in all black plastic too?
No, that was all shiny,
Okay.
just like normal James.
Okay, normal James. Okay. You had the like mint green sort of thing going on in your last set of renders, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the cube.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yep. And we were like, let's zoom in on it. Yeah. Cool. Well, you took a chance doing such a big page with your product so small on it. Just like be ready to knock out some individual renders of each of these products on their own in these materials, just to supplement your portfolio, so that you'll have this to show off, and then you can flip to some close-up views, do some really cool like detail shots of all the hard work on all these models, because you have all the details that we covered in the class in there. And you want to make sure to like sing that song when you build your portfolio. So
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, junior review is where it'll come up next. Your portfolio you won't start until way later, but you'll get to junior review, and you'll have to do a page on your 3D CAD skills, and so you're gonna look at your studio projects and think, and then you're gonna be like, well, at least I got that DC3 stuff, and and so you're gonna bring these back up again, and that's where you're gonna want to zoom in on the details.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Anybody else want to say anything? Or are you guys?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Harsh. Thumbs up from Harsh. Harsh, you want to go next since you're active?
I can go for sure.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, usually I like to like work with. Can you see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, usually I like to work with different colors in all my DC3 like projects, like individual like speakers or whatever. Like I used to work with different lightings, like at least like 3 or 4 colors of lighting. But when I worked for like my studio class for ID, like I couldn't do that because it's more like a fake. It's not like so realistic. It's like a nightclub or something like that. So I couldn't do that. So then I thought like for this project, I'm not going to use any colors in it. Just a light blue I used. You can't even see that. Yeah, basically I was using a bunch of lights, but it's all white. I set up a lot of lights because I like to like have like little cubes and like circles and all this lights. So I'm kind of like experimenting with how it works. And also like I like to put like point lights in like some specific places, like binocular cap you'll see, like a lot of places like that, just to like show the detail of it. Yeah, basically that's it. And the colors, like I just chose a simple color and throw up like an accent color like for every little part of the objects. Yeah, that's it, I guess.
Nice. Harsh, you lucked out. My favorite color is purple. And some people try to talk smack, and I'm like, my dad actually, he's an artist as well. And when I told him that, he was like, that's a great choice, Jim. Purple is the color of royalty. So I've used that for my whole life to justify my love of the color purple. And so I like the purple color scheme. Is it blue or is it purple? It's purple, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But you got blue highlights. I can see a little bit of the blue highlight on the barrel of the binoculars, kind of, it shows up there a little bit. And then on that little chrome adjuster piece that you've got there on the binoculars, that piece is showing quite a bit, I think, of the complexity of the lighting scenario that you've got there. That's kind of picking up the white light on the other side, along with the purple reflection off the ground. Again, back to Da Vinci, he'd go crazy to see this kind of stuff. You got great reflected light coming off the ground plane. The lighting around the products is lighting the product really well, so it jumps off of the the background really well. What's up with the ground plane? Because it looks like you added like a blur effect or something, like a,
Yeah, but
like
adding
a
like a
motion blur.
yeah, I was adding like a metal and increasing the roughness and also like increasing the the density. I don't know how to say that. It's something similar to roughness. There's an option, so
Yeah.
I was just playing around with that. First, it was like too much. It was like if it doesn't like has a blur thing, it would be too much. So I thought of like blurring it, and you'll see like there are some things going around like this. It was actually pure white, actually pure white, like this pure highlight, a highlight there because of my lights, bunch of lights. So I kind of photoshopped it a little bit so that you don't even see that.
Oh, you did. Okay, so I was
Yeah.
right. Did you use the blur tool? Did you blur it out?
I mean, these all are things that are done in Keyshaw, like just a little bit line, like a stripe line, one line, two line. You won't even see that I photoshopped.
Okay,
I can
cool.
show you how it is. Like, yeah, but I don't know
Yeah,
where
if you
is
got
it.
it, let's see it. Let's see the unedited version.
Uh,
Just because you know what you know what the ground plate. While you're opening your file, I'll talk. It
yeah,
looks like it's either it looks like it's a ground plane with a little bit of mist floating over it, or it looks kind of like it's water, like it's like a a sheet of totally still water, which is again, like I said, you guys are good. This is a class of like stuff I never seen before, and I haven't seen that effect in KeyShot before. Anytime I try to do a metal ground plane and add roughness, I always take it pretty far and I just rough out the reflections all the way. But that's just my personal preference. I kind of like the blurry sort of motion blur effect that you've got going.
yeah. This is the unedited version. This is what I was talking like a little bit, the white thing coming out. So I didn't like it, so I just faded
Mhm.
it out. Yeah, but other
Yeah.
than that, these all are made in Keyshaw.
Okay. Cool. So this is the original we're looking at now.
Yeah, this is the original.
Okay, now let's flip back to the final.
Yeah,
Let me know. Is this it? This is it. This is final.
yeah, yeah. This
Okay,
is
cool. Nice. Yeah, all your metal bits are really doing well. Again, if we go up to where the handle comes into the speaker, that's looking really, really good. That metal material is again just picking up all of the cool effects of the environment, and then also catching some cool reflections from that hole that the pipe's going into. I just want you guys to kind of notice these things, these little teeny details that you want your models that you build in 3D CAD to be able to absorb the environment that you build for them in KeyShot really well, and so that they can then project out really interesting characteristics. So when you're, going into, you guys will be going into ID3 next, and it's going to be up to you to add little details to your products, and so you want to constantly have that kind of mindset of like, what can I do to this thing, whatever it is, to really catch light in a cool way and build a cool factor into the product. And like the Bose designers who did this speaker, they knew what they were doing, and that's why we've got this fun little feature to play with here. And so the next thing is up to you to see like what can you build into your products to to up that cool factor. So the top of the speaker though is kind of looking a little flat. Is that like a rubberized material on the top gray piece there?
Oh, this one? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a rubberized material.
Say it again.
It is a rubberized. Even these two are both a rubberized material.
And let's see, on the lighter gray one on top, is there a texture on that or is it smooth?
I think it's smooth, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Forgot. Yeah. I did
Yeah.
try to add a little bit of roughness, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But for sure not texture, I think.
Yeah, in the future, play around a little bit with adding a very, very small scaled noise bump map into any of the rubberized materials. because what it'll do is it adds like a little bit of reflectivity, but like in a muted sort of way to the very matte finish of the rubber material. And that way you can catch a little highlight and a little more shadow on that type of material. Because yeah, the top of that thing's just looking a little, it's looking a little like flat. Like it's not doing what other parts of your models are doing, like on the binoculars with the metal ring, the adjuster ring and stuff. Also with the butt end of the mouse, you know, that thing is, again, it's catching reflections of the other products. It's also catching light and shadow from the lighting scenario that you've got. You know, it's doing a good job of what we're talking about here. That one material though at the top is not doing that. So it needs work. It just needs something to kind of bring it up off the page. Another way you could get that done is if you are in Photoshop and you've gone through the trouble of separating the models away from the background, if you just dust in a little darker background around that lighter rubber material, that would help to kind of provide, not like a drop shadow, but like an outer glow of a darker shade of the background there. That would just help push it off the page a little bit more and just draw some attention to it and kind of make it look a little cooler, you know?
All right.
So yeah, so just, yeah, watch out for that stuff. Because, I mean, surprisingly, the binoculars has the same kind of material, right? Like on the stripe, the split stripe that goes around the barrel of the binoculars, is that the same material as the top of the speaker?
Yeah, I guess like most of the things are same material. Yeah, even this is rubber, even this is rubber. And it's just like, the roughness is different in
Okay,
all the three things. It's not same.
okay.
But material is same, yeah.
I was just wondering if the binoculars are closer to the light source of the environment you build. I mean, the binoculars seem more successful at catching light and shadow than the speaker is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if that's because it's just closer to the lights that you put into the environment. I don't know. I won't know until later, but you know, just for your, you know, kind of your efforts here. Oh, look at that. When you zoom in, you get the part line. The part line actually sticks up a little bit. I hadn't noticed that before, but it does look really good. You've got a little fillet running on that part line. I can tell, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Good.
So I have a gym. I have one question. Even I'm facing for my ID class. There's a line that comes down. It's the, what is that? It's the plane that ends and the background comes. How do I avoid that? Just go one flow instead of having like the line being seen.
You know what I would suggest? They used to have one of these that came stock with KeyShot, and I'm not sure that they have it anymore. But there is, I think it's called a waterfall background in photography. If there's anybody in the class that knows more about photography, feel free to speak up. I don't know the terminology yet, but it's basically like it's a ramp shaped surface that you'll find in a lot of photography studios. And what it does is it takes away the edge between the floor and then the wall. And so you can apply a material to the ground plane that will then continue up the wall. And so basically, if you just draw like an L shape with a radius so that you get like a soft ramp kind of shape, and then import that into KeyShot, then you'll avoid having any edges that are visible. You'll make an edge-free render.
I see. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's you basically build a little photography studio. You build an actual piece of CAD you bring into KeyShot. Like I said, it used to be right next to the ground plane button in Add Geometry of KeyShot, and I don't see it there anymore. Like they took it out for some reason, and so you have to build it on your own now. I've done that for a couple of jobs before where I really wanted like a clean setup where there's no delineation between ground plane and environment. And yeah, I'm just looking it up on my phone, and there's a bunch of people complaining about the seamless backdrop is missing in the new version of KeyShot. It's called a geometry ramp. And so you just build it. We all know how to, you know, take two planes, throw a big fat radius between the two, make the thing really big, you know, go into Rhino and set it to like feet instead of millimeters, and make one that's, you know, 5 feet tall by 5 feet wide, and, you know, throw like a 2 foot radius on there, curvature continuous, and just have that on your computer for any rendering that you want to do. And then you can bring it in along with your regular models to get a seamless background.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. Nice, nice ground reflections. I like it. Chloe, do you want to take us away? How you doing?
Yes, I can go next.
Okay.
Wait, let me share my screen. Wait a minute. Okay, so this is my final rendering, and cause pink and purple is also my favorite, one of my favorite color, and I choose purple and pink as the main color of my final rendering, and I use some almost the same material for the main part, but I also add some details and as different materials, and I make a texture on my water bottle. I also put this thing here, this practice thing, because I think it is very cute, and I separate because I put them together, so I also make a copy of this part here, and yep, and I what other things? Yeah, I think yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. So how did you come to the decision to do the ground plane in brushed metal? Because that is like, I think it's doing a lot to make your models look really good. It's a darker ground plane, and it's helping kind of pop all of your models up off the background. And I remember your last set of renderings that you sent me and that you showed the class even were kind of, it was like pink on pink, you know, and everything was kind of blurring together. So going with the darker background when you're going to have all pink or light pink objects, or just light objects in general,
Yeah.
is a smart move. But then to make it brushed metal, that's a very like, you know, kind of opposite vibe to the rest of your color palette, you know?
Yeah, of course. Cause at the beginning of this final rendering, I want to rendering them one by one and put them in Photoshop and see how it works. But I think it didn't work so well, so I just put some add a plan in Keyshot and snap them to the ground and change a material of my plan, and make more contract with my my object, because this is a little bit brush, but all of my object is smooth, so I think it also can make some contract with them. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, no problem. I like that you adding some texture to the water bottle. If you're back, do you want to tell us what is that texture? Is that a bump map in Keyshot? Is it a Photoshop thing? Is it a what would that be? Is that a Rhino thing?
Actually, it is the Keyshot logo, and I make it so big, and and I think it looks cool. I just want to have fun with it, because it doesn't have too many details like that, or the speaker, and so I add some texture here and to see how it works. And I think, oh, it's cool, so I just keep that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good. I think it's throwing me on what kind of effect it has been applied to it to make it look the way it does, because it looks like a bevel and emboss trick from Photoshop. Do you know about bevel and emboss?
Oh, I'm not sure.
It's okay if you don't. I wouldn't really look it up. It's one of the kind of it's one of the tools that everybody learns when they're first learning Photoshop. You can take a logo, or you can take some text, or you can take a shape, and you can put a bevel and emboss, and it makes it look like it's kind of puffy or raised or indented into a surface. It's kind of like cheesy, and it's from the 90s, and like not a lot of people do it well. It always kind of looks bad. But I haven't seen any effects like that in Keyshot, and this texture looks transparent, like it doesn't really have a color to it. And so that's all. It's just kind of throwing me a little bit. Like it's definitely something that sticks out. I think probably just because we haven't played around with doing anything to these water bottles in class besides leaving them stock. So I'm kind of trying to figure it out, and I'm like, how did she do that? You know? So yeah, I'm not sure it's like 100% working. I can see that there's a seam, and I know we talked about seams like last time. If you look on the top of the water bottle, like one of the lines comes up and it stops, and then the lighter line starts again. And so that's just one of those things. Again, you got to watch out for the seams when you're dealing with anything that is not made by your own hand, you know. But I'm really happy to see that you brought out the little practice bottle, the transparent glass with the lid opened, you know, the warp tool. That's cool. So
Yeah.
don't forget the thing the lesson that I was trying to show you guys with that demo was about caustics and about how to build caustic reflections into transparent glass items. That's where you get like cool effects in the cast shadow from a transparent object. I'm not sure that I see it happening, but there's a little glimmer of light right where the thing touches the ground. So I'm thinking maybe it could be there if you continue to study that effect and work it a little bit more. It's a really hard effect to get right. It's kind of an advanced technique that I sort of tried to throw into the class. Yeah, I would write down caustics, and I would look that up and challenge yourself to use that little model as a practice piece for learning how to render transparent materials really well, because that's built for that. Because the other transparent material that you've got on here is the glass lenses, the blue ones, and those are unique. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yes. I choose the. I think I'm not sure it multicolor. Transparency parts. That you show us in class. Some colorful transparency material, and I choose one of them. I think it still has a little purple, so I choose this one. And I think it is it is more different with other materials, and it can also make a focal point on this page, because this is my favorite object in this class, so I want to make it biggest and create some more how to say more colorful effect and more details that people can focus on this object. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's what I was going to say that's doing. Kind of like we saw in yours, James, how those lens materials in Keyshot, they just suck you right in. They just draw your eye right to that spot. There's something interesting happening too with your rendering, Chloe, where you've actually created, and this happens in car design all the time, on purpose. In product design, not so much, but we're kind of lucking out in this project with the binoculars, when you prop up the binoculars in the way that you did, and you draw attention to those two blue dots, and then you look at the center pin, you get a face. So you got two eyes, a nose, and a smiling mouth. If you look at that, see it? You know? And then if you look at the bottom, there's kind of a frown, like there maybe his mouth is down there. You don't know. But so you guys got to watch out for that, and you have to make it. You have to notice it first before someone else notices it without you mentioning it, and then you have to decide like what kind of face do I want to make. So anytime you're dealing with this, like again, like I said, it goes with car design all the time. You know, if you look at a Corvette, and you look at the front of a Corvette, the face that's made with the headlights and the grille is a very specific type of face. It's very aggressive, frowning, it's kind of growling, and, you know, looks like the kind of animal that a Corvette would be. Anyway, same thing for Mercedes, Ferrari, even a Honda has a certain type of face, and the designers will spend a lot of time focused on trying to create features that go along with the expression on the face. So, you know, industrial designers don't get the opportunity too much because we so rarely will find ourselves working on something that has this symmetrical two eyes and a nose and a mouth. But in this sort of situation, you do. So once you notice that, you have decisions to make on how you want to present the face and, you know, how you want to present the product to either accentuate or minimize the face. So, yeah, just keep your eyes out for any sort of characters that are sort of popping up as you design products. It happens with kids' toys a lot. You have to be really careful when you design kids' toys that you don't accidentally make like a scary face on something when, you know, you're trying to make a fun toy. So it's just it's a little accidental thing, and you know, I just wanted to point that out because it kind of you talked about focal point and drawing attention to the top of that model, and for me, it draws attention to the top of the model. It does what you wanted it to do, but it also highlights this face that's in the scene, and it's one of those things kind of like the FedEx logo, where once you see the little arrow in the FedEx logo, you can never unsee it, you know. So. Okay. Very good. Yeah, Chloe, one more question. There's a little dot on the top of the bottle. Do you see that little dot that's right in the top of the glass bottle?
Glass bottle?
Yeah, and then the top of the plastic lid of the glass.
You mean this?
Yeah, what's that? What is that?
This is oh, cool. What is that? Yeah, I think it is a hole that I made in Rhino. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Photoshop that out. Yeah, because you know what it's on the speaker. On the speaker, there's kind of a similar thing where you've got the buttons on the top of the speaker, and so it looks kind of like it might be one of those buttons on the glass jar. I don't know. You just want to. Yeah, just eraser tool that thing out. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, Chloe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We are cruising. Let's see. I don't know, Ulysses, you want to go next? What's up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Also just want to say, Chloe, your what's it called? The lenses kind of reminded me of like futuristic night goggles or something. Pretty cool. Yeah, so here, this is essentially my final rendering that I decided to come on. And I like to, I chose blues because I recently, again, I don't know if you guys know what the blue screen of death is, but it's kind of nice. So, no, I'm joking. It's the opposite of nice. So I had to restart my computer and all that, but I was just going with the theme of blue because it kept popping up. And yeah, so I added a point light into these binoculars to kind of show off the dark blue lens. And then I also tried playing with various like gradient lights, and I kind of didn't like how they came out. So I kind of trashed that, and I only kept one and dimmed it pretty low. You can kind of see the blue the blue here that stayed, and yeah, and I tried to also keep the background like pretty minimal. I like that effect, especially like I think it's pretty professional as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Does your ground plane, is that white stripe at the top of the rendering, is that the ground plane? Is at the end of the ground plane?
I think that's a light effect, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a ground plane in your scene?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What
Yeah.
do you have for material on the ground plane? Is it just paint?
Yeah, I think it is a paint. Yeah, it's a textured paint.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that white kind of gradient line at the top of the page is kind of bringing me back to Harish's question about like transparent backgrounds. I didn't know if that was on purpose or if it was the ground plane. I was going to say another solution for how to handle the ground plane in Keyshot is to actually select it and then scale it way, way, way up so that it extends beyond the extent of the presentation board you're trying to make. And then you just pop your stuff out from the edge of it if it's even shown.
Yeah, I did that, but I guess I should have done it more. Yeah.
Yeah. You said you used something called a gradient light. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like a gradient light thing where it's like you can put multiple colors inside of a light source.
Okay. Yeah.
I found that in while I was messing around with it.
Did you save all your materials and stuff in Keyshot for this?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I just have to send that over still, but yeah.
And then what's going on with the handle on the speaker? It
Yeah,
looks
that's something. It's
something.
yeah, that's something. Yeah. But I tried what's it called? Multiple renders pretty much, and this kept popping up. I'm not sure exactly what's wrong with it, but I know I edited the material so I could change the colors so it would match. But I'm not sure why that kept popping up, honestly.
It looks like a fabric material.
Yeah.
Some sort of like nylon cord or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because half of it looks really good. I think the lower half with the larger textured fabric looks almost like a climbing rope for rock climbing.
Yeah.
But then it breaks and it turns to kind of mush. Like I'm not getting it from there up. Like it looks like a glitch, you know? So
yeah.
you actually crash while trying to render this? Is that how you get?
No, it was actually beforehand. I was working on some CAD for my what's it called, my ID2 class.
Okay.
And then it crashed. So then I had to reboot it, and then I started working on the renderings for this class.
Oh,
so that's why I was inspired by the blue.
Did you lose? No one is inspired by the blue screen of death. God, it sucks so bad. Did you lose work for ID2?
Yeah, but I mean, nothing you can do about that. It's part of life.
That's part of life. Yeah. Cool. Well, so again, this is a totally unique rendering from everybody else. I think we had chrome from Nico, but we haven't seen white yet. I mean, I think now tell us about the white that you used on the binoculars. Do you know anything?
So I pretty much used I like using like whites and like super light grays as well. So that's what the binoculars are, as well as this the speaker. And then the bottom of the mouse is kind of like a darker gray, but also a light gray. So yeah, it's kind of playing with the whites and the grays and matching them.
I think I was asking about the material on the binoculars because I was wondering if it was one of the soft plastics. There's some soft plastics in Keyshot. They're different than gloss and they're different than matte plastic. They're called soft. Do you know if that's what you used?
I honestly have to look back at it.
Okay.
Binoculars were the first thing that I did, so.
Okay. Yeah, they have this kind of blurry look. Like overall, your whole scene has a kind of blur to it, and I'm not sure if it's coming from maybe the resolution of the rendering itself, or if it's coming from the material that you chose in Keyshot. And soft plastics in Keyshot do have kind of a blurry look to them because the way that they work is they've got a sort of semi-transparent or translucent kind of outer coating to
Mhm.
opaque interior. And so they're really good if you have to do, if you're doing shoes or something like that, and you're trying to do the sole of a shoe and you want it to look um, like soft rubber.
Mhm.
That's where it comes in handy. And so, yeah, so jury's out on is it the materials that are causing this kind of blurriness or is the resolution? Did you make sure to get your resolution right in Photoshop?
Yeah, I definitely did. I think it's the material.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and when you zoom in on the lenses on the binocular, I can see you've got something going on in there. What is that? Is that glass or is
Yeah, it's a glass, and then I just messed with it.
so those lenses are another opportunity to continue with your blue and white kind of color scheme, you know, for everybody, since we all kind of have been picking like a very strong color scheme for all the renderings. I want you guys to, it's optional now, but I want you guys in the future to, you know, try to get into this habit of building custom lens reflections, so, because there's just such a chance to really make binoculars sing. Those ones, they were kind of lost until you zoomed in on them, you know, but now that we're in there, I'm starting to see there's something going on in there. But yeah, how many lights do you have in this scene?
Damn, I'm honestly not sure.
But it's not just one. There's
No, it's not just one. No.
yeah, because again, when you zoomed in on the binoculars and we saw the shadow thing that's happening in between the two barrels, you can see multiple shadows from different angles that are all kind of overlapping, kind of like we saw in James's renderings, right? How the shadows overlap. And so that's, I don't know if it's good or bad, right? In this situation, it's again, I think it's kind of adding to this kind of blurry feel to the render. And then like one side of your rendering is really well lit, like the speaker is really, really well lit. And the other side, it's like maybe there's not as many lights on the left side by the binoculars or not. I don't, but
Yeah, I do see that
all your
kind of
lights are
falls
kind of
out.
coming from one side. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's not good or bad. I'm just kind of narrating what I'm seeing. Is the color between all the blue parts the same blue?
For a few of them, yes, but not all of them.
Okay. Yeah, because the mouse kind of sticks out like it looks purple instead of blue.
Mhm.
The water bottle blue is what we call process blue. That was back in my old days of slip and slide design. We would make everything process blue. If you wanted like a sporty, cool blue, that was the color you picked. And it comes from the Pantone color chips. You know about Pantone colors and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Pantone book, they would have like process colors. They didn't have Pantone colors, Pantone numbers assigned to them, but they were they just had names. So process red, process blue, process green was like neon green. And so I would always pick process blue. All the designers would make fun of me. I just liked it. So I like that. I like the color you picked for the water bottle top the best. And I would just, you know what I would do is go into Keyshot, figure out that color, and then try to find a Pantone color in Keyshot that matches with that blue. And it might be called process blue, or it might be some other Pantone color. Once you have that color picked out for one of the items, then you can go and apply that color to all the other items in the rendering. And that way you don't have to guess. You just know, okay, if anybody talks to me about what color blue did I use, I'll have the Pantone ready, you know. And it goes into manufacturing too. Like when you get into graphic design and you start working with graphic designers and manufacturers are going to ask you like, what's the number of blue that you want us to use on this? And so just, you know, start practicing that now of figuring out exactly what color you want on all your products and build your little color palette as you go. When you get to school, you'll have your portfolio, you'll have a whole set of Pantone colors that you like, and there'll be a consistency to your portfolio that'll stand out and look really good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I memorized the RGB numbers for some of them, but that's but that's different.
Yeah, it's different, but that's the same technique. I mean, it's the same thing. I think it's just that mouse is killing you because the mouse has got a lot of purple in it, and it. Then the wheel of the I think the wheel of the mouse is the same as the stripe, but it's still somehow because of the way.
It's different.
Is it different? Okay, I was gonna say it kind of feels different, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody else want to jump in on this one, guys? We are a chatty crowd right to the end. Yes. All right, very cool. Great. Well, all right, keep it going, Ulysses. Thanks a lot for showing us.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, so let's see. Sylvia, are you with us? Did you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go next.
Sylvia and Mo left. Yeah, right on. Okay.
So this is what I have for the final one. I try to keep them look as realistic as possible, and I set the lighting into one direction because I really like how James did for the last round. And yeah, just do you have any questions?
Well, I am immediately impressed with the stiffness of the shadows in this scene. I think it's looking really good. All the shadows look like really successful as far as a single light source type situation. And you're saying that's something you really tried to do, huh?
Yeah, so I have a really strong light like in one direction and then several small lights in the same direction but just positioned differently.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, those binoculars, for me, I think they look, I mean, photorealistic is the word for it. They look like they are really sitting there. One of the things I was impressed by with Chloe's work was that she said that she was, and Chloe, you can chime in here if you want. You said you used snap to ground plane to get your model to sit right on the ground plane.
Yeah.
Sylvia, did you use that too?
Yeah, I try to do that, but it's not really sit on the ground. You still have some distance up to the ground, so I have to physically move it down.
Yeah. That's the thing that's weird about snap to ground plane. If you have an item that's like tilted and then you snap it to the ground plane, it sits on the ground like that, and then you have to flatten it out and still move it. But yeah, I think these are, I'm totally sold that all of these are sitting on the ground plane. So whether you nailed it or not, you are fooling the eye. You're doing a good job of making these things all look super realistic. I think even like, so the base of the speaker, let's look at that one first.
Yeah.
If you can zoom over to that. Yeah, see, so the way that this shadow starts, kind of like if we look at the gold dots and we draw a straight line down, you look at that little tiny shadow underneath there, that's a super stiff shadow, and it's perfectly contrast to the highlight that's created by the right side light source. And so you're getting a lot of you're getting a lot of just shadow success, shadow doing what it should do, which is pop the product up off the ground plane. That's the little tiny like footer that I told us all to really pay attention to. So, it makes a product look enjoyable. If it's not fully planted to the ground, but kind of sits above it, you get that little sliver of shadow. So that's a perfect example of a really stiff shadow. But then the way it gets even cooler is if you follow it around the circle, it starts to fade out and it starts to kind of blur itself out. And by the time you get to the left side of that base, you're already starting to see it almost totally blur out. And then is there a second shadow as well? Is there two light sources in this, or is it just a single one?
I have one that's really strong, so it has a very strong shadow, and other ones that are kind of light, but still different light sources.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, this little tiny piece, it's this base thing. It's such a small, kind of insignificant item with really small details, but when you get the lighting right, those things really look good. And I think this is a good example of it. The little tiny microscopic highlights on the gold pins of the charging base look really well done. All the highlights on the black look nice. There is a little bit of graininess in the shadow coming off the binocular. So that makes me wonder about the time it took to render this. How long did you spend with the rendering?
I didn't count the time, but I set the sample number to 99.
Okay.
Yeah.
Samples to 99. All right. I don't quite know. So how long did the rendering take to do?
I don't really remember because I just let the computer goes and I didn't really know.
Okay. Okay. Was it overnight?
No, not overnight.
Okay. Well, you've saved this scene in Keyshot, and you have this setup to run it again. I would say next time you find semester's over, so it should be sooner than later that you should find yourself with a full night of sleep coming up here soon. So I would take this scene and I would let it render for 8 hours or maybe 12. Or if you feel like you want to take a day off of technology, set up your computer to render for 24 hours. You can go into Keyshot and you can set the maximum time that the rendering will take, and then you can set that to any amount of free time that you have. If you do that, what you'll get is even better shadows than this. I think the shadows are my favorite part of this render here, but they could still be better with just more time. More time will allow the computer to take out the graininess in those shadows and to increase the effect of reflected light off the ground plane, bouncing off the product, and then coming back down into the shadows. Again, Da Vinci, So you really want to Da Vinci this out, then just let it render for longer. If the scene is all set up as it is, this thing is ready to rock. You just got to give it some time, and it'll be perfect. So already it's killer work, but it's going to take time to get it to be perfect. So,
Okay.
yeah. Cool. Very good. Yeah, let's look at some of the other stuff. Having the speaker away from the base is a little confusing because it makes the base kind of doesn't make sense when it's not near the speaker. It kind of makes me think that like the water bottle might actually sit on the charging base, and that's a little weird, but you could switch that around pretty easily if you wanted. And then the mouse has got some of the only glossy materials on it. And for me, that little white tab of highlight that's sticking down right, if you look at the logo and then draw a straight line down from the logo, that little white highlight right there, yeah, that thing, it's doing a really good job of kind of catching my eye and drawing attention to that product. Does that have a glowing light inside the
Yeah.
inside the
I
thing? Okay.
put like a green light down.
Okay. Cool. This happened. That's my fault, guys. I did that in my demo, I think, where I did like a glowing mouse as the demo, and it just kept going through the whole class. Like all these mice ended up with glowing bits in the center. It's fine. It looks good. It does make that part line kind of look a little funny, but the closer you get, the better it looks. But yeah, that little white tab there is doing a good job of kind of keeping my attention. Cool. Yeah, let's keep scrolling around. Let's see. You've got some texture on the top of the water bottle, metal.
Yeah, I have changed the texture because the last one, the texture like some is horizontal, some is vertical. So I choose one that doesn't have that.
Good. We were talking a lot about avoiding the seams, right? On your textures. So I think you totally nailed it on that one. This new texture looks really good. And I mean, try to notice how the texture shows up most when it's in the light, when it's hitting that highlight from the light source above. That's when you're getting the texture the most. When you look at the top flat plane of that water bottle cap, the texture is almost impossible to see. So, you know, when you're dealing with an item that has a microscopic texture like this one, trying to draw attention away or to that texture requires you to adjust the light source. So the light source is really important when you're dealing with textured stuff.
Yeah, and also for the last time, you saw that there's like red light below the green surface.
Yeah.
And I found it's because for this material, I set the subsurface color to red, I think.
Oh, subsurface. Okay. What is
Yeah, because
what is that material on that thing?
it's just plastic, the glossy plastic. But it's often have like the main color and the color that is the subsurface color. So I set that to red, so that's why it looks red, but it's just an accident.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it looks like you fixed it. I don't see any red anymore. And another thing to do, if you're in a pinch and you have, this is why we did the practice renders in the first place for this, is to find little stuff like that and then fix it. But in a pinch, you can always, I mean, that's what Photoshop is for. You can always Photoshop out those little bits. It doesn't look as good as just doing it right the first time. But if you're like trying to make it to the crit on time and you're running out of time, you can always just, you know, use the clone stamp tool or whatever to take out little details like that. But this looks way better than before. Having the distraction of the texture seams taken away is really making me like this water bottle a lot more. And those little artifacts, those red bits being gone does help, especially as we zoom in on the render. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. I really want you to keep doing renders. Do you think that this is a style of rendering, this photorealistic rendering that you want to keep doing?
Yeah, I like this, and I also want to try more that with lighting, because this one I tried like keep all of them in the same direction. This is what I haven't tried before, and I think it really works. So I maybe work on the lighting more.
Yep. Yeah. Very. Yeah. Something we saw, I think, in Ulysses' work that was nice was he added like that. Ulysses, right? You added some blue to your light source. Wasn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good trick for if you're trying to do photorealistic stuff, is adding a little bit of blue to your light source kind of makes your eyeballs think about the blue sky. And so it can be super subtle, you know, even if you're going with it light, even if you're going with a color scheme that's totally green and dark gray, you know, a little bit of blue in the highlight will just make the person who's looking at your rendering think, oh, this is an outdoor scene. Oh, this is a real world scene. And it just sort of gives you a couple of extra realism points. So I'd recommend that you do something like that if you want to keep doing these real photorealistic scenes. And then also, Sylvia, remember that doing photorealistic rendering it's a whole job you can get. Like, you don't have to end up being an industrial designer. You can be, you know, what they call a visualization specialist or a product visualizer. And that's what Tim Zarki does at Oculus, who's like the hot stuff designer renderer or 3D CAD guy around San Francisco right now. Is he just does renderings for all the new products. So I would look up product visualization as like something to gain inspiration from for your own work. And I would, for all of us, right, myself included, let's all try to do photorealistic photo visualization or product visualizations to the cleanest that we can. And, Will Gibbons, again, I keep bringing this dude up. I should just call him and make friends with him for real instead of talking about it. He's got a bunch of books that he recommends on his website that are all about understanding lighting for photographers. And they're like photography books for wedding photographers and for nature photographers and stuff. But he does a lot of studying on photographic stuff and applies it to the digital world. So I think that you could benefit from that too. And the stuff you're showing us here really indicates that you've got a good knack for it and you've got your foot in the door for product visualization. And it could be, the kind of thing that you really want to, practice heavily over the course of your career at CCA so that your final presentation boards for junior review look like, they're absolutely real. So.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, I think that's it. And then we got just Mo. Mo, it's you, buddy. You wanna take us away? Can you show us your work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let's get.
Am I the last? Can you guys see this?
We can see it. Look at you.
Yeah.
This. Whoa.
Is that okay?
All right, you're up.
All right. So I use different colors of the environment light to capture those reflections.
Whoa, look at that.
Like here. And I took all the suggestions and thank you guys for, I roughness this model. So the texture becomes more, not that shiny. Yeah, and I also put a golden cylinder inside. Just wanna grab those gold reflection in there. So yeah, and I also import a image in this layer, so the reflection looks more realistic. I think so. Yeah, pretty much that's all the features, the cool features in there. Hey.
What was the image that you put on the lenses of the binocular?
Is usually do a JPEG.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, but what was it a picture of?
A different color mixed up, like what you did in your version.
Okay.
But I didn't have the black, what's that called? The black wall to black out all the scene.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the first thing I thought when you pulled this up is that this thing is intense. This is an intense rendering. It seems like if this was a space movie, these would be like the bad guys in the movie. Like you, dun, da, dun, da, da, like. I'm not wrong about that, right? I think there's this moody, kind of very, creepy vibe going on to your renderings. Maybe it's just because we just came from Sylvia's that was like so bright and mean and everything, and it was like cheery kind of environment feel. And now we're like, like on the Death Star, and so you know, that's great. You should have
I get it. I get it.
you should have a clear theme to every rendering that you make. You never want to just make a rendering that's you know, just whatever. You know, it should always be like, oh, I wanted this to be a really light and airy rendering, or I wanted this to be a really dark and moody rendering, or I wanted it to be or the focus of this rendering should be like really unique use of shadows or shadow play. You know, like I'm taking notes on everybody's work here, and everybody seems to have something that's kind of caught my eye, or some sort of theme that sort of sticked out. And you know, it's been shadows, and it's been you know, cloth materials. Somebody tried that. That was great. You know, amazing shadows. You know, and now with yours, I think it's mood. I think it's the feel that we get from all these products. I mean, they all have their own kind of personality. I think the thing that does it the most, the gold mouse, is kind of a little bit outside of, it's like the outlier. There's a book by named Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers, and it's something you could read. I don't know if I recommend it, but that's the outlier, right? That guy's kind of sticking out. He's on his own. He doesn't have the green and the blue kind of vibe going on. And because he's different than the rest of the pack, he kind of helps identify the individual characteristics of all the other ones. So he's the one who kind of sets the stage for saying, like, you know, each of these products has their own personality, but they all also live within a similar themed rendering, you know?
I get it. He's the boss.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the boss. Maybe he's the boss. That's right. So cool. And then, so you brought the revolves in from the material exercise that we did.
Oh, the little tiny Lego blocks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because after I finish all the scene, I think like all the products, I think there is something like it should be shows in there, like in this area. So otherwise, the whole scene looks sort of like lack of something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not that balanced. So yeah, I just import it. Hey.
Yeah, you know, and so when you first did the zoom in on the mouse and you showed us, let's look at that again too. Let's go.
Mouse?
On the back end of the mouse. Yeah, the first thing you went to on the mouse was that reflection on the butt end of the thing, where it's like 5 or 6 different colors. You got white, black, pink, green, gold,
Purple.
gray, purple. I mean, I was like, okay, you know, it might be a little bit much, but I still give you credit for taking a stab at going kind of crazy and throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I mean, that kind of experimentation is what really leads to success later on down the road. So when I see something like this, I'm like, go for it, you know, go crazy. That's why my class is set up the way it is. Class is kind of like loose like that, you know. I really like to see you taking chances and trying stuff out. And I think you did that here. And when you showed me that back corner, I was like, that's a little bit too many reflected colors. It's
here
me a little, yeah. I mean, you know, it just all over. I think there's so many reflected colors that it is a bit much. The saving grace is those 2 little Lego pieces. They give a little bit of like a mental explanation to the viewer of why there's so many colors in all the highlights and shadows. Take those and I would sprinkle them throughout the whole scene. Not, instead of just having those 2, I would take those and put them next to everything, so that there's like a reason for all of these crazy colors in all your highlights. Like those are like, they could be reflection generators or something like that.
Got it.
And that would be a good way if you wanted to keep doing these kind of crazy scenes where you have like 5 or 10 different light sources and they're all different colors, you know.
Sure.
You sprinkle kind of generic shapes around the scene, and then when the viewer looks at it, instead of being confused, they'll be like, oh, that's probably just that thing reflecting into the item. But yeah.
Get it?
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is fun. So let's keep rolling around it. I want to look at the binoculars next because the binoculars, yeah. So the reflections in the eyepiece, the eye cover, those look like they're almost photoshopped or painted on with a paintbrush or something like that.
Oh, well, you mean this little tiny round, isn't it?
No, I'm actually talking about the white highlight on the cylindrical eye thing.
Oh, here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as they go down the barrel there, yep, front to back. The big highlight, yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, those highlights are they're looking unique. So the question I want to ask is, what is the environment that you used in Keyshot?
Uh, well, I created a individual environment, just like what we did in the mouse project. So I added some paint with different color, and I also added a sphere, well, two spheres in in the top of the scene, and another one I remember is in there. So the light is come through like this angle and this angle. So that's why this part of the scene is bright and this part of scene is
Yeah.
darker.
Yep.
Is that okay for explain?
That's okay I get it. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're explaining it.
Okay.
Just those highlights on the binocular, they look very unique. And so you're telling me that the reason they look unique is because you have a fully customized environment here. And so that's
Right.
a perfect explanation. I mean, I get it. Just want you to pay attention, to the fact that, your highlights are, they're telling a story, strangely enough. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, the way that light bounces off your products really does tell a story about how a visual was made. And so it kind of does stick out as like something that's unique about the look of this rendering. And so it makes me question the story there and like kind of what happened. So I'm really interested to dig into your Keyshot file and see your environment. Were there any custom materials that you made, or are these all kind of drag and drop materials?
Well, I think most of the materials I just did a little bit modify with it,
Mhm.
such as the main body of the the binoculars. It's not the original tire material.
Mhm.
I changed the roughness and the color and some reflection. I don't remember exactly, but yes, I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured, I mean, if you're going through the trouble of creating custom environments, then the next thing you should get involved with is, making custom materials to go along with those environments. And then your long-term goal should be to try to build a collection of environments that work really, really good with another collection of commonly used materials in Keyshot. And once you have kind of stash of, it's kind of like when we started class and we were talking, James, you and I were talking about, the brushes in Procreate and having a good stash of brushes. And once you get to that point, then you can start working. And so that's, I think, Mo, you're showing us a good example here that like building custom stuff and trying to create a scene that's entirely your own. That's kind of your theme for this, besides being, intense bad guy kind of render. I think this is kind of the theme is customization. So, the take.
Yeah, Jim. I just want to say that I actually created a folder just like what we did in the previous work. So every material and the color, I just save it to that individual folder, such as this one is called ID1 binoculars.
Okay.
And this one, yeah, I saved most of the materials
Yeah.
into the folder.
That's
So
perfect. That's exactly what you're supposed to do, and I'm looking forward to digging in on your materials. One little bit of constructive criticism, which I've kind of brushed up against already, is just like, just if you were at, say this rendering is at 80%, I want you to tone it down to maybe 60%. There's too many colors in your reflections, too many colors in the environment, and it's creating a little bit of confusion when you zoom in on the details. So when you're fully zoomed out, like you are right now, it looks super cool. It's a very cool rendering, very unique looking, attention grabbing, all of that. But then when you zoom in on the details, it does get a little confusing as to why are there so many colors and all the highlights. So, it's partly my fault. I mean, I encouraged you guys to do this, to put colored lights into your scene. But I just want you guys to know, your rendering should look good from afar and also from close up. And so this does get to be a little bit much, like I would say 3 colors max. I'm guessing here. It's up to you. But I don't want to, this is always my problem, I don't want to discourage you from continuing to do your thing, Mo. So if you keep practicing this idea of multicolor and custom-made environments, there could be a path that you could find total success. But I think, when you have the deliverable, or when you're turning in for a studio class, I want you to tone it back and keep it a little bit more realistic, and keep the fantasy kind of multicolor stuff for classes like this, the side classes, and your own personal work. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, don't stop doing this, but just, keep it on the,
Get it.
Yeah.
All right.
Else want to talk about this? Anybody, guys?
I think it's really interesting looking, honestly. I like how it's got such a character to it, honestly. Like, it all just looks like pretty cohesive. And it was kind of nice to have a scene that had like a very natural kind of like vignette to it, which I don't know if anybody else did tonight, which was kind of like nice to see. It's like an idea of the rendering process that I had forgotten about a little bit, having that light behind and stuff. So it's like a good reminder. And Mo, I think you did it really, really well.
Thank you, James.
Anybody else want to talk? I like how it says produced by Mo. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was a art editor and doing some graphic stuffs, such as deal with some photos. So yeah, and the layouts for magazine. So this is how I learned the skills from the company things.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, the vignette call out is a good one, James. I see it, but I didn't have the terminology picked out. But yeah, there's a vignette button in KeyShot now. That's where you can add a custom vignette to your scene. But I think, Mo, your vignette here is done just by the light source shining on the ground plane, right?
Oh, which part?
The shadow around the collection of materials or of products is because of the light source, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't do the shadow things like the created shadow. No.
Yeah. Another thing you should look into also, let's see here if I can come up with the name of this thing. Oh God.
Am I stop sharing?
You can just leave it up because you're our last person, so we'll just.
Oh, okay.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of there's a term for custom built materials for VFX, and I'm just gonna have to email you guys later about it, but it's something that you should look into, Mo. You can start by, hopefully your KeyShot license, your student license should continue on for a little bit longer over the break for the whole school year, hopefully. And there's a KeyShot cloud that is where KeyShot people from all over the world have made custom materials, and you can go onto the KeyShot cloud. There should be a button for it on the interface of the KeyShot, and you can go onto that cloud and you can check out other materials that are made by people that are customizing their own materials. They also have environments, they have HDRI maps, and you can just browse thousands and thousands of different custom materials, and then you can download them onto KeyShot, and then you can look at all the properties that go into the materials themselves. And so, you know, like, Mo, if this is going to be, you know, your thing is making custom stuff, then a good way to get inspiration on the details of how other people are doing that is by using the cloud, or just by, you know, just do a simple Google search for, you know, KeyShot materials, you know, for free, or maybe even paid if you're up for it, you know.
That's good.
They're called PBR textures. That just came to me. So PBR textures are, I remember it because it's like the beer, PBR. They are materials that you buy online for rendering, and they come in all different formats. So they'll come with a bump map, and then they'll come with a texture file, and they'll come with an image file to do the color. They'll come with a diffuse map, and they're these materials that come with like 5 or 6, kind of like buying a layered Photoshop file. And so really informative for how 3D textures are made, how procedural textures are made. So you can just look up PBR textures for 3D rendering. And I think when you start to look that stuff up, you'll find you get pretty quickly into the world of visual effects, and you'll start to see other programs popping up that are used for rendering out there in the real world. Like another one that Autodesk makes is called Arnold, and that's for doing like all different sorts of rendering, but they're particularly good at doing cloth and doing procedural textures like grass and clouds. And then there's another one called Smoke, which obviously is for smoke and fire. Then you start hearing about programs like Maya, and you'll start seeing more and more renders done in Cinema 4D, and Houdini is another one that's been floating around recently. And so like this idea of building custom materials kind of puts you into that alternate world of movie effects and visual effects and stuff like that. So it's a really, it's a deep world to get involved with, but I talked about this, you know, with Corey Jones and some of the other design teachers, that it's not really the kind of world that crosses over very often with industrial design, because we're so individual product focused that we don't really pay attention to what's happening with movie VFX and stuff. But I think that's really going to be the future, is the kind of cross pollination of the two disciplines. Or I think ID will just get better if it can start to take cues from that that larger world. There's a magazine you can read that's called CineFX magazine, and that's a magazine that goes into detail about all the VFX that go into popular movies and TV shows that are out there. So Game of Thrones, the one that I have talks a lot about Game of Thrones, but it also talks about movies like, I don't know, Jumanji, the latest Jumanji that came out, where they have really realistic animals and dinosaurs and crocodiles and, you know, fake environments all around the movie. They talk all about how those things are built, what programs they use to build them, interviews with the different VFX managers that, you know, work on all that kind of stuff. They'll talk about all the details you'd want to hear about, how much money it costs, how much it takes. And then pretty quickly, you'll find yourself right back at where we started our whole class today, talking about Doug Chiang and Star Wars. Doug Chiang is one of the biggest recommendations I could give as far as inspiration for industrial design. He was my inspiration when I was a student learning how to do marker drawings. He's now top of the game at Star Wars, and he's doing digital drawing. So there's that inspiration for you guys. He's pretty damn good at CAD too. He doesn't use any of the CAD softwares we use because he's, again, movie focused, but he's just a great overall kind of example of somebody who's good at everything creative, from product design to spaceship design to VFX to custom material building. Everything that I've seen kind of you guys bring to the table today, he would be somebody that I think you should look at. And you know, yeah, that's what I would just recommend to the whole class.
That's great.
Is you know, kind of get out there and take advantage of this break that we have in between semesters to take a breath after class is over, and you know, start looking for, you know, what's out there. There's a ton of stuff out there that industrial designers don't look at that we could all do better with. So I'd recommend that, and I'll try really hard to put together like a little closer email for you guys so that I can, you know, say an official goodbye, and then also I'll try to get some good links in the email so that you guys can not have to hunt and peck too hard to find this stuff that I'm talking about. So
that's so sweet.
Yeah, I'll make sure to put that together. I've got a couple other, you know, book recommendations and stuff for you guys, and yeah, I really want to set you guys up for success and make sure you guys, you know, get your money's worth with this online class and stuff. And I really just, you know, I wanted to say thanks to everybody for, you know, coming to class and being part of the class online only. It's been, you know, very unique and kind of a little bit strange online only class. You know, here I am still in like my downstairs bedroom teaching the class and stuff, but you guys have really come through like in a way that I haven't seen other classes come through. You guys have convinced me that recording my classes and recording our sessions here, posting them up on Moodle and YouTube and stuff is something that I'm going to continue doing for good, whether we go back to online person or in-person classes or not. I'm going to keep like this semester's class has really kind of changed the way that I think I'm going to be teaching DC3 in the future. And you know, your work is the reason why I'm making that shift. It's something I'm excited to show off, and I really appreciate everybody's hard work, and I hope you guys, you know, guys can see the success that you've had here. It's been really good to see, and I really hope everybody's able to take away what you learned here and apply it to your studio and your own portfolios as well. So there you go.
Thanks so much, Jim. I learned a lot in this class, and I appreciate all the help and stuff that you gave.
Mo, is that a Post-it I'm seeing? Nice, buddy.
Reverse.
Nice, good one. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you wouldn't be an industrial designer without a Post-it note on your desk. I appreciate it. Awesome. Very cool. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. If you guys, I'm just going to assume everybody has turned in their work. I saw zip files flying in right before class started, so it's got to be in by right now. So get them in if they're not in, but I'm going to assume you guys got your stuff in. I'm going to dig in on that. I'll do grades in the next few days. You know, let's keep in touch, guys. I really appreciate everything you've done, and I'm excited to look at your work with more detail. I can guarantee good grades across the board. Don't stress about it. Yeah, I got no problems with anything. I hope you guys were able to kind of, you know, hear from my response on your work today, the kind of what's working, you know, and take that to the bank, you know, like really, you know, put that down in your notes as like things to focus on. So, like I said, I'll keep in touch with you guys. The recordings that we've done in class are going to stay on the Moodle page. The YouTube page, I'll probably just leave that live just to just for the hell of it. And then, I did add one more tutorial in between last class and this class about a feature in Rhino I wanted you guys to all learn about, but it's optional to look at that. To try to remember that the next step for you guys is to decide where you're going to go with DC4. I think you have to pick one program or another to go into like SolidWorks or Rhino. Keep in touch with me on that front. If you decide to go one way or the other, you can reach out to me and I can help get you warmed up for the next class. Try to remember that your skills will drop off heavily if you don't practice all these 3D CAD skills. Like for instance, if you've been heavy into SolidWorks right now and I told you to go back to Rhino and rebuild, you'd be stressed out, right? These things, they don't stick in your head the way you want them to. So my biggest recommendation for everybody is, start out with a couple minutes a day and see where it goes. Try to get in an hour a day on CAD, keep the skills fresh, and you'll continue to get better and better and better. It's just like drawing. You need to practice. So I think that's where I'll leave it. Just keep practicing, and thanks for your hard work, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Okay, well, have a good one and good luck. Let's keep in touch. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
Okay, yeah, stay safe.
Bye, Mo. Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good one, guys.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, Mo.